Very much for coming here. It looks like we're live and direct, and we will get into it. My name is Brian Zelip. I'm from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Thanks. At the Graduate School of Library and Information Science. It's a pleasure to be a part of eChicago. This is the 6th year for the conference, and there's been a lot of good discussion so far throughout the event. One piece of information that's unfortunate, and that is Jasiri X, his whole family came down with some health issues just before. Some strep throat running around very strongly in his family. He's been traveling a lot. I'm sure folks have heard of some of the videos he's done on Trayvon Martin, etc. Because of this activity, he's really been flying around a lot lately. He hasn't been sleeping in the same night, in the same bed 2 nights in a row in the last few weeks. So sort of a condition for hotness, but also the sickness. So we want to, if he's out there watching, we want to say peace and hope you feel better soon, and Godspeed to your family. So welcome to eChicago and the Hip Hop panel. Chicago Hip Hop, the digital hustle, and social justice. In our language, where we come from, in our lab called community informatics, the digital hustle sort of translates to a concept that we have called cyber power, social cyber power, and that is people using digital tools to advance their interests. And not only do we have a digital hustler right here in the form of Psalm 1, but we also have mucho digital hustlers on the panel as well as in the audience. So it's a pleasure to have everybody. For the sake of streaming, Psalm, why don't you sit like right here?
All right. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
No, right on time.
All right, cool.
Just like to introduce our panelists this afternoon to get everyone acquainted. On y'all's far right, this is Babyface Monster, who is very important to the citywide scene that is Chicago hip hop. This gentleman runs a very important website called shybangers.com, and it's a citywide a blog that profiles artists all around the city. We're also honored to be in the audience with another Chicago hip hop blogger, Shy City Hip Hop. So we're really representing on that front. Babyface Monster, he's also an artist. And in addition to running the blog and the radio show that's on the website, has a hefty discography underneath his belt as well. And you can catch all that at his blog, shybangers.com. New LP is called Cadillac Broham Joints. A song called Smile with a new video that's been getting a lot of love all around the blogosphere, which is really grounded in, the topic of smile is really grounded in everyday life experience from a no-nonsense kind of standpoint, not the extra bling seriousness and taking up some serious issues. So I advise everyone to check that out, shybangers.com. Next to him in the middle, we have Brother Mike. Brother Mike represents citywide organization called YOUMedia and the Digital Youth Network. And if anyone was here, maybe you caught the YOUMedia panel yesterday at eChicago. Really informing, really insightful for some of the sort of on-the-ground activity that's going on, teaching youth, engaging with youth around learning new media skills and learning critical thinking and breaking down social barriers and getting their digital hustle on. So it's a pleasure very much to have Brother Mike here with us to talk about his experience. Last but certainly not least, regularblackgirl.com. This is Psalm 1, graduate of our program, our University of Illinois in around 02?
Yes.
In chemistry.
Go ahead and date me.
No, that means leadership is what that means.
There you go.
But no, in chemistry, which is really interesting, right? So her first album on Rhyme Sayers Entertainment, which is an independent hip hop label based out of Minneapolis, was called Biochemistry.
No, actually, I have to correct you.
Please.
That was my first album, but it did not come out on Rhyme Sayers.
It didn't?
My first commercial.
I see.
Came out on Rhyme Sayers.
Okay, so Biochemistry 2 was the Rhyme Sayers.
No, the Rhyme Sayers release was called The Death of Frequent Flyer. Biochemistry 2 was put out by a Chicago-based label called Birthright Records.
Okay.
Yeah.
Birthright Records.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to add that. One of the things that we'll talk a little bit about is this notion of hip hop scholarship. We got some books here just sort of representing some of the flow of people who have been writing words and thinking about hip hop. So obviously the cultural production, the cultural performance that is hip hop, but there's a lot more that goes on around it. And here's a selection of some books, people thinking about and documenting hip hop. And I just wanted to give a few shout outs to some of the activities that's been going on around the country in the last year, really, in the last few months. Our panel here is sort of a part of a discussion that we're not alone with. So there have been other conferences that have just happened and are about to happen. So for example, Houston put up a Houston Hip Hop Conference. And that's just about to happen. OSU is putting on a conference called Hip Hop Literacies Conference. That's coming up shortly too. There's also been another one, annual thing, that was the fifth annual Rock the School Bells. Rock the School Bells. And this is real interesting right here. University of Wisconsin at Madison. This is an institute for a week long, which some folks might be interested in registering hip hop education. But not only has there been a lot of conferences and talk about hip hop lately, one of the things that we're going to get into in the future, not in eChicago right now, but it's interesting to know that there are some hip hop archives that are out there. And this doesn't represent everything, but this is a few. So what you see here, the top one is at Cornell University. They have the Cornell Hip Hop Collection, and it includes the personal archives of a lot of very important photographers who were on the scene in different places at key moments in the history. Charlie Ahern, who produced a movie called Wild Style, right? He has deposited his archives in an archive based in the university before. Very interesting in Houston, and this is interesting for the Chicago experience. So Houston has in the Houston University of Texas at Houston Library, they have a DJ Screw archive in the library, which is off the chain. But it's very interesting. In other words, the things that we have and the things that we do on the ground and in the subculture, not in the mainstream, very much have value outside of the time that created them, the ephemeral moment maybe that it came from. There's a lot of value to it, so there's a lot of reason to be keeping and maintaining and keeping our archives, right? So it's why blogs like Shy Bangers and Shy City Hip Hop are very important, because it's keeping the records of our community and our cultural producing communities, and especially coming from low-income, marginalized communities, it's tough to keep the archives. So here we are in a place that keeps archives, and they got a lot of money. So it's important for efforts on the ground to also be documenting what goes on, to make up for our lack of money. Then also at Harvard, they have something called the Hip Hop Archive down there, and all that stuff is very searchable, you can find out. Did you have anything for here? Okay, perfect. Well, let's start in with a way I'm going to ask Brother Mike to maybe just start it, just talk a little bit about some of the questions that you and I talked about, of how, if you could give a recap a little bit about, for some folks who weren't here, for what kind of new media skills are being dealt with in the YOUMedia program and in the digital youth network, and especially in regards to the events that's going on around weekly spoken word events and the other events that you're doing that kids are getting involved in, etc. Maybe we'll start with Brother Mike, and then after that we'll get into a presentation by Babyface, and then we'll end up with Psalm 1. And then we'll open it up for discussion, very much so. We got some very interesting folks in the audience as well.
Well, yeah, I think, just thank you guys for having me on this panel. I think this is an example of, what hip hop can do in a university setting. It can inform, it can engage, folks that may not be in or of the culture to understand what it can do outside of this community. In fact, within their communities. Brian kind of touched on what YOUMedia is doing. Our piece is to really, in a sense, bring together organizations to have them openly networked. I'm part of Digital Youth Network, as was stated, and basically that's an organization that really sought to close the digital divide for young people on the South Side initially. And it existed also to bring, mentors to help guide that experience, and also engage teachers and the school, in fact, in this new digital landscape to find importance in it. The YOUMedia piece really came out of a need both for Digital Youth Network, where we saw these kids that we had worked with from 6th through 8th grade kind of graduate out into a school system that didn't necessarily have the supports or really found the engagement at that point around digital media. The library, in a sense, had amazing adult programming, great children's programming, but nothing really focused and concentrated on teenagers, especially in the sense of creation, right? So MacArthur was kind of this brainchild that brought us both together to create this space where kids could explore, they could dive into interests or explore different interests, right? But also, at the core, really turn the library from a space of just consumption of media to a place where we can create media and critical media at that, to use it as a center of knowledge that can push out key core critical ideas that I think inherently exist in books, but can exist beyond books, right? It's a new type of learning space. And hip hop, at YOUMedia is a core of that. I mean, the culture itself, I think its fundamental principles of, informing, engaging, and, resourcing or remixing how tools are used. Some of those pieces that we've tried to, create in terms of interest level is, a piece called YOUMedia Records. And in this space, kids can learn about not just how to be the artist, which is good, but the careers around that, right? The hidden worlds that they don't see, the bloggers, the photographers, the graphic designers, that this is a community that if they don't have all those skills themselves, that they have to seek out. And the library offers a free space where they can explore those tools, take free workshops or projects, and I say workshops to really develop skills in various tools or technology, but also engage in projects like YOUMedia Records, where they can actually go through some experience learning and showcase that work to the community. The last piece, which was talked about, was Lyricist Loft. Lyricist Loft piece really came out of the spoken word movement at YOUMedia, and the kids were asking, can we showcase our work to the larger community? So we developed this piece where it could basically act as a funnel system for a lot of the workshops that were going on at YOUMedia. So the beat makers or folks who are in the radio program could act as DJs or beat makers through the night. The spoken word artists could have a performance space, but they also act as hosts for the event. And then some of our bloggers and graphic designers, they really define the look of the event, how we push out flyers on Facebook and things like that. So it's really a community that comes together. And I think that is so reflective of this idea or principle of hip hop. It's about bringing communities, cultures together to create new things. And what's interesting about the Lyricist Loft piece is that it's so student driven. Like I give the guidelines at the beginning, then I step back and it's there. So they own pretty much the flow of the event. And we want, I believe, students to really take ownership of how they're presented to the world, right? Whether that be through video, be through stage performances, or how they shape their identity through these various online sites. So I think the library in this case can act as a key to open up so many doors of access where it just wasn't there before. So a kid doesn't have to pay $40, $80 for studio time. They can do that with a library card. They can take classes for free. And this is how I believe, according to me, that we should engage our communities if we want to see transformative change.
Babyface up to the mic. I'm gonna get his PowerPoint ready. There we go. This brother represents the digital hustle in the flesh. Oh, that didn't work?
Yeah.
Oh, it did work. Okay, good.
I appreciate that, Brian Zelip. Did I pronounce that right? Zelip. I appreciate that. And I want to say thanks for everybody who came out and, being a part of this. Can y'all hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my name is Carl Jones, Babyface Monster. I represent ShyBangers.com, which is basically, the motto is covering Midwest hip hop culture, one artist at a time. All right. Chicago hip hop scene is a monstrous machine, never sleeps. We represent artists, designers, photographers, anybody with talent, we try to help them. And what was initially started as my own personal blog, because I'm an artist myself, So it started as my own blog, and it's blossomed into a leading forum for Midwest hip hop called ShyBangers.com. This platform is to showcase, discover, and encourage independent hip hop artists and R&B singers in Chicago and surrounding cities to continue to do what they do. And that process that I used to create this website is called The Digital Hustle. Now, the reason why I embarked on this journey, it was only about 12 months ago. It's a short period of time, and I've done so much since that time, since I started. The reason why I got into this is because I've been a hip hop artist for over 10 years, and I've shined artistically, but in the business world, I've been a failure. So I would send out music to different websites, to radio stations, and I would wonder why I wouldn't get any answer back. So I was pretty frustrated, and I felt that my failure to gain exposure for my talents was based directly upon me not knowing how to promote myself well on the internet. So, and as you know, since the mid 2000s, this big digital boom with music. As far as the online downloads, we don't usually go into Best Buy anymore and pick up our favorite CD. Now it's all about going online to iTunes, Amazon.com, and copying that. YouTube has changed, the music video game. We don't really, we go to MTV and we're going through the channels, but YouTube has changed it to where we can watch whatever we want, whenever we want. So it's been a big shift since, the mid-2000s. And instead of radios and magazines and newspapers, what has replaced that now is internet radio and what I do, blogs. So that brings me to, me beginning on this journey. Last year, like I said, I had recently become a single father. This is where I'm from, that's why I put the slide up. It's the South Side of Chicago. You see that red area at the bottom? So it's not the best neighborhood. I grew up, a lot of drama, this and that. And I put this up here just to let you know that with the internet, doesn't matter who you are or, what background you're from, you can, if you don't know how to do something, you can find out how to do it and get the job done if you have drive and determination. So, like I said, single father, I decided instead of working a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life, why not give this music one last chance and not just give up? So, what I realized was to accomplish this, my digital hustle would have to overshadow all of my competition. And, I ended up setting up a Facebook, a Twitter. I started my own personal blog for my own, hip hop artist career. And people still weren't coming to, check out my music and my latest news. So I was even further frustrated. That's when I had this epiphany that, there's so many other artists just like myself, from the same background, who don't have the money to promote themselves, and don't have the knowledge. So I decided, why not just help all of those people? Why not just review and interview these people and give them some exposure, at the same time promoting myself as a tastemaker. So I basically decided that if the tastemakers and the fans wasn't gonna come to me, I was gonna become a tastemaker myself and just hustle my way backwards. So, to do this, I had to make sure it was done right. So I dived into every free social network and ebook I can find. I read, things like 20 things you need to know about music, marketing your music, killer internet marketing. I subscribed to a lot of different hip hop websites and music websites like indiehiphop.net, thefutureofmusicbiz.com, things like that, and just basically use those as tools to figure out how I was going to do this. Then Google was my main ally in becoming tech savvy. Anybody can become an expert overnight just by searching in the right keywords. I would search things like how to this, how to that, how to everything, how to create a blog, how to design a blog, how to make tags, how to promote my blog, how to make money off my blog, how to embed, how to everything. So that's really how I learned this in a short amount of time, is basically teaching myself, and after a while I became an expert just based upon doing it over and over and over again. And initially, I would go, how I got traffic to the site is I would go to other websites just like mine, just like Fake Shore Drive or GoWhere or ShotCityHipHop.net, and I would look at the artists they had, because I didn't know anybody. So why would they come and want me to review or interview them? So I would seek them out. I would go on like ShotHipHop.net, and I would copy and paste that into Google. I would search that name, search the Twitter, Facebook, get the email, build an email database, and I would solicit artists on Facebook. Hey, I have a new blog, let them know what I have going on, and just basically get them to submit some music to me. And at the same time, I would hit the streets and go to different hotspots in the community, like Subterranean, Beauty Bar, anywhere where I know where there's a showcase going on with hip hop. I would pass out flyers that I designed and have people to come and submit music. And then, everybody really caught on to it. They liked the idea of having a blog that was really for them. And so they brought all their fans with them. So the result is just 12 months later, shopbangers.com. It has evolved. I'm not even using the slide, am I?
Just press the arrow.
Yeah. This is my first time doing this presentation, y'all. There we go. See, that's when I was talking about how to this, how to that. Yeah. I'm pretty sure, how many people in this room use this every day?
Of course.
Yeah. So this is how anybody can learn anything they want, how to fly a plane. No matter what background you're from, if you go to Google, you can learn how to do anything just as long as you follow through and execute. All right. So that brings us to today, the result. Just 12 months later after starting this blog, Shopbangers has evolved from just another blog into an entity that is a haven for all quality Midwest hip hop. According to Google.com, it's one of the leading blogs in Chicago market right now. It successfully promotes local hip hop artists, promoters, and upcoming events. sponsors monthly events, showcases, and contests. Now, all content shown on the site is submitted directly via email. They email me press kits, has to be professional, has to be professionally written about, you know, what you're sending me, the video, the mixtape or the EP or the song you want to promote. And of course, you know, picture, the links, the music has to be uploaded to either YouTube. Okay, there we go. The music has to be pre-uploaded to either Hawkins, we got up top, YouTube, Bandcamp, or either SoundCloud, so that I can easily grab the code and embed it onto my site. Now, what happens after, you know, I listen to the music and it's dope. You know, I like the music. You know, I think it's worthy of getting on shopbangers.com and me promoting it. Then I, you know, review it, you know, tell people how I feel about it. I give information like Twitter links, linking back to the artist. And then I actually promote it. You know, I promote it like it's my own music. I shoot it out to these sites we see at the bottom, these social networking sites, Facebook, Twitter. I have a database of thousands on the email side, so I shoot it out to all of my contacts and I promote it. Also through Hootsuite, which is something that's brand new, where I have like hundreds of Facebook groups and thousands upon thousands of Twitter followers, and I simultaneously shoot the review of that artist out. Is this Q&A right now?
Just a quick question. Are you also linked with other bloggers, and do you send stuff to them?
If I like the artist enough, I will. If they request it, I try to help them with that. But we actually have another program that helps artists that is called Shy Sponsorship.
Okay.
And what Shy Sponsorship does is really help artists who are talented but don't have the polished, you know, business sense to create a professional press kit, who don't have those contacts or those resources, you know, that I have built up over this 12 months. So I do help artists to get promotion in other ways. But yeah, and with this, I promote it, like I said, like it's my own project. Mm-hmm. You know, I shoot it out to thousands upon thousands of people and tastemakers in the Midwest region. So the website is broken down like this. It has, let me go back. It has a couple different categories. Shy Hop is basically where I review the music, the video, the song, the mixtape, and post it up. We have Shy Beats, and that's an outlet for producers, you know, beat makers. We post up their music after we review it. Events, a lot of promoters send me things they want me to help promote. You know, if I think it's worthy, then I post it up and inform people about it. And also, Shy Resources. Shy Resources is basically things that I've read over time, you know, that help me along the way. You know, copywriting, e-copywriting, where you can copyright online. Just helpful tips to help people market their music. Now also we have a radio show. We broadcast every Saturday night between 8 and 10. That's going on tonight after I leave here. And co-host, I host it, you know, co-host of P1 and Shani Kabibi, who's sitting right there in the audience. Now there's a segment called The Weekly Review where we further expose artists who are posted on the blog. So we talk about that for a while, and also we have something called the Midwest Minute, which is an attempt to bring the whole Midwest together. What we do with the Midwest Minute is we call and talk with other blogs that we work with throughout the Midwest. Heavy Gun blog, you know, DoWhatYouDesire.com, which is a Milwaukee blog. The DoubleO.com, which is the #1 Ohio hip hop blog. And a couple others, you know, St. Louis. We try to cover all the bases and just basically try to make it a platform where everybody in the Midwest can unify, and independent artists everywhere can hear songs from other places, you know, and things of that nature. So we're trying to strengthen the hip hop community. So what's the difference between us and larger blogs? Both are technically and visually the same style blogs, like Ruby Hornet, Fetcher Drive, Go Where, and are widely famous blogs that deal primarily with successful or popular artists, things of that nature. There's no problem with that. Song One is probably, she's very successful, so you've probably been on Fetcher Drive and Go Where, like, yeah. So what we focus on, me, Shy Bangers and blog like shyhiphop.net, we basically focus on that artist who has the talent, but they haven't released anything. Nobody knows them. They're brand new. We basically try to break that artist into the game so that people can actually listen to the music, so they can in turn become fans and come out to the shows, purchase that artist, support that artist, and so forth. Ultimately, this is basically, it's not a regular blog site. It's the beginning of a movement to break down that wall of politics that exists in hip hop within media today. So ultimately, we're going to give all of the power back to the artists and change the president that's within hip hop media. Because usually, if you know somebody, you're going to get plugged. If you have the money to pay for advertisements or PR, then you're already there. So the future, what I want to do with shopbangers.com is, right now it's a weekly Midwest hip hop blog and radio show. The ultimate goal is to conquer the local Chicago Midwest market and expand outward. In the near future, it will play a bigger role in Chicago community with monthly events to showcase talent. We will build partnerships with small businesses in the community to boost local economy. There will be a Midwest tour that stretches from Detroit, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, St. Louis. That's already in the works. And most importantly, we will provide sponsorship to promising indie artists, provide valuable knowledge, resources to ensure that their music is properly and professionally put out there. In another 12-month period, I believe that shopbangers.com can become the center of all Midwest hip hop. So if I did, all of this in just 12 months, then I believe I can go, a lot further. Well, in closing, this panel is about the digital hustle. And, with the World Wide Web, the world is at our fingertips. Like I said at the beginning, if you have the internet, you can pretty much learn how to do anything. You have resources at your fingertips. Artists can, find more fans to buy the music. They can, it's much easier than hitting the street with a street team and plugging flyers. You can, with one click, let people know about your show. So and that doesn't just go for the music world. If you want to be a baker, you want to promote, your new shop that just opened up, you want people to come in and stream in, you advertise online, so it flourish, you want to do, build some things from home, some little knickknacks, sell them on eBay. So, thank you.
All right, now we're gonna call up to the mic.
Call up or?
Call up to the mic. Call to the mic at least. Yeah, Song One, Real Talk Tuesday. I'm sure folks in the audience know about that. One of the things I'm sort of been learning my Twitter game from this woman right here. So I can't wait to hear about it. I'm gonna get y'all some water too real quick, so stay tuned.
Hi everybody, how you doing? My name is Psalm One, but I was born Crystal Bowen. I was born in Rogers Park, grew up in Inglewood, and went to Whitney Young, then went to U of I down in Champaign, graduated in 2002 with a degree in chemistry, and then I came back here and became a rapper. I don't quite know how that happened, but I was rapping. I've been rapping since high school, kind of on the low, and when I got to college, I had a double E electrical engineering student who just really liked to record. He was like a huge nerd, So he would ask me to come and record, and that's where I recorded most of the material for my first actual albums. I didn't know I was recording albums back then. I thought I was just getting some space from chemistry, you know what I mean? It was kind of like the yin and the yang of that, and it helped keep me sane. But when I graduated, I actually came back here, and I was a part of a crew called Nacrobats. Big up to Paisley Adams and all the Nacrobats. It was like one of the biggest crews Chicago ever had, and it was it started in the early 90s and went for a long time. And at one point, there was about at least 1,000 kids in the city talking about they were Nacrobats. I mean, it was a huge movement, and I was really lucky to be a part of it as it was ending because we were getting more national attention. At this point, I decided to pursue music full time when I got approached by Hieroglyphics out in the Bay, and I got approached by Rhyme Sayers out in Minneapolis, and I decided to just pursue music full time, and I've been pretty successful at it. I would imagine. I mean, I'm not mainstream in any sense, but I've definitely been able to maintain my status, or whatever you want to call it, in the game. But I've mostly been able to do that through the internet in the past couple of years. After touring for about 3 years with some very cool groups like Brother Ali and Gym Class Heroes and Dell, and just a lot of great opportunities came my way, I had to stop because I went right from college to a crazy rap life. I mean, I was a chemist for about 2 years in Chicago Heights, but during that entire time I was moonlighting as a rapper. So I don't really remember that time. So I went right into that life, and after touring for a while, I just kind of had to stop. And I went to the Bay to find myself, because that's what most would-be hippies do. They go to California and they go walk around barefoot and stuff. And that's what I did. I did that for about 2 years. But while I was out there, I started to build up my work mentoring kids and stuff. So that, I don't want to get too far ahead of my speech or whatever, but that was a budding sort of road for me that I still benefit from, and I still volunteer with to this day. But after I came back from, I decided to move back from the Bay because I found myself. It was cool. And I decided to come back home and work on music again. But when I came home, I realized that the game had changed. I signed my deal in '06. It's a standard hip hop deal, but it's really good, which allows me to do side projects and things on my own without my label, Rhyme Sayers, getting involved and all that stuff. They help me out with stuff that they don't put out, but you know, as labels, they don't really need to help artists do their side projects. That's why they're called side projects. But for me, while I felt that I wanted to just get right back into it, right back into the game, as it were. But the whole dynamic of the music industry had changed at that point. It was only 2 years after I'd signed, but I found that there were all these new faces, and the internet was playing such a huge part in people's careers, whereas you could know someone's music and know someone a whole bunch and not ever see them in person, or even really have them on television, or have them on the radio, or have them even in magazines. They could be a huge presence just solely on the internet, and I thought that was fascinating, and at the same time very, very scary. But when I got home, I realized that, just like Babyface Monster said, I really, really agree with, if you have a little bit of drive and a few tools, you can really make a huge impact on your career if you do have that drive, because that's really what you have to do. You have to be driven and have to navigate this whole world where everything is kind of new, and old way of doing stuff is it's looked down upon. So Twitter has become not only my addiction, but it's become the foremost way to get in touch with me and to contact me as an artist. Matter of fact, I checked my Twitter, and Brian tweeted, "Are you close?" So like that, he knows. Everyone knows that that's a really good way to get at me as an artist. I'm really bad on Facebook, but I'm trying to be better. But these tools, these social networking applications are hugely influential, at least right now, to an artist like myself, who I've gotten a lot of great opportunities without the help of my label, without the help of any huge entity, and without a huge major cosign. I've been able to do that with the help of my small knit team of friends that I've known for years, and just waking up every morning and getting on the internet, not only trying to be entertained or even entertaining, but learning and interacting with the people that are like-minded. So on Tuesdays, I do this thing called Real Talk Tuesday on Twitter, and it's kind of got a life of its own now, where I can log in and I'll see hundreds of people kind of like participating. And sometimes I like to take credit for it, but I know that some people may participate in, using the hashtag on Twitter and not know who I am. I actually had to it was kind of bugged out, because I realized that through the internet, sometimes people can recognize or even discover you and not really know your full background. Like, I've had people follow me on Twitter, and as an afterthought, they're like, "Oh, you make music too?" And the rapper ego in me is like, "What? You didn't know I rap? I'm great." You know what I mean? But on the other hand, it's just like, that's cool too. You rap, but I follow you because you're good at shit talking on Twitter for some reason. I feel like the reason I like Twitter so much is because brevity is the soul of wit. Shakespeare said that, and I believe that. I'm a creative writing minor. My dad was a writer. My mom was a writer. And my rap music is stemmed in lyricism and the written word. So I take to Twitter because you only get those 160 characters to make an impact. I mean, you can use multiple tweets, obviously, but you get one tweet sometimes to make an impression, and that's not a lot of words. And I feel like my ability to reach people through these little short bursts, I think it's really cool. I mean, I don't know what's next, because everything is MySpace, now it's Twitter, Facebook has a crazy, like beastly thing of its own. I'm still a little scared of it, but
For good reason.
for good reason, right? I think on Facebook you just get more room to act a fool. Like, you get pages and pages. Whereas on Twitter, it's like, come on, get on with it, But I guess Facebook too is really more built, I feel like, for connecting with friends that you knew way back when, you know what I mean? And I think Twitter wasn't built for what people use it for now anyway. It was built as an IT tool for like tech guys to talk about tech stuff, you know what I mean? But once hip hop takes over an entity, it completely changes the game on things. But I've been really blessed to get a lot of opportunities, not only through Twitter, but through YouTube and through just doing things myself. I'm no filmmaker, but I've directed a handful of videos, not because it was something that I really wanted to pursue, but because you need videos for songs, for not only blogs, but for fans. If the younger they get, the more bloodthirsty they are for content. I mean, they want you releasing a video, a movie every day. It's just like, wow. And if you don't have a huge team around you, don't have a lot of money around you, you still have that burden to produce as much quality content as possible. Now, it's crazy because if you're a hugely popular artist, say Wiz Khalifa, they can take iPhone movies of them taking dumps in the morning, and it'll get like 1 million views. But someone like me, or someone like Babyface Monster, or someone like Brother Mike, who wants to get stuff out there to the masses, you have to work that much harder and know the angles, because I appreciate Shy City Hip Hop, and I appreciate Shy Bangers for posting up my stuff. I keep track of the blogs and the people that retweet my stuff, that reblog my stuff, that post my stuff, because for the most part I'm sending out personal emails to these blogs and to these bloggers, because I started with a manager, but now I manage myself, and I teach other people how to do that as well. And so that's just like one major part of being a successful artist right now. Like, you need the internet. It's not even up for discussion. Maybe whereas like maybe 3-5 years ago, people could say, "Oh, I don't need the internet." No, it's not like that anymore. Like you need the internet to make an impact on more people now. Not to say that you shouldn't hit the streets, because I don't know if anybody's here familiar with Kickstarter. It's a funding platform for artists to ask for pledges from their fans and people that might be interested in what they're doing. It gets you a platform to fund your art and your projects. I had a project that had me come back to my work that I do with kids. There's a program that ASCAP and a program called America Scores. They do it every year. It's called the ASCAP Songwriter Residency. I worked with that program last year, and we toured and we did songs with students. We'd go in classrooms and write songs with kids in 2 days, and then the third day we'd take them to like a pimped out studio. It was really, really cool. But we were coming out of pocket, meaning me, I was coming out of pocket for a lot of the stuff because it was a real tour, and while we were getting shows at regular hip hop venues, we were buying snacks for kids, and we were making sure we were getting adequate transportation and good hotels and stuff like that. So we asked our fans to help out with the initiative, and also we were asking fans to help me be able to expedite my studio sessions. So it was basically a project to help Song finish the 2012 and do it in a timely fashion, and be able to continue my work with kids and not have it stop the work I was doing just as an artist. And we were able to raise $8,000 solely through people pledging and believing in the art and the artist, which was me, and the project, and just our mentoring program and everything. And it was a really cool thing. We didn't just do it through the internet, but I would imagine probably about 75 to 80% of the funds were raised via the internet. I think it was good that I was able to tour, because I was able to like hit the streets, which is what Babyface Monster was talking about. Like you can't just do the internet, but you can't ignore the internet. So we were able to hit the streets, and we actually did a text campaign as well. Mobile apps is really a huge thing now, since all the phones are getting better. So that's a marketplace that just kind of like, it's an offshoot of the internet, and we were able to secure funds through that channel as well. So for me, digital hustling, I like that term, but digital hustling is just a part of being an artist for me in everyday life. So thank you, and
So part of eChicago is very important, is the conversation. So we don't want to open the mic up, open the floor up for anyone who may wish to speak. And it's being streamed. There's some folks checking in online, checking in from the live stream. So we'll take the microphone and bring it off to anybody if they want to ask a question. You're gonna have to get up to meet me halfway.
Okay.
Maybe just record it.
Okay, cool. I teach at North Lawndale College Prep, and I see a lot of my students want to be media hustlers. And so my question to you is, to all of you guys, is what's one of the biggest pitfalls that somebody starting out makes, and what should they be really focused on?
I would say spam would be a big pitfall, and it's
I would say spam is a huge misconception. People think that the way to get someone's attention is to just bombard them or spam their wall on Facebook. Like, I really don't like that. When I log into Facebook and there's some fake Jordans on my page or something like that, it's just it irks me. But that's just me. Some people don't mind. I would think that sometimes people think overdoing it, oversaturation is the way to go. But I think finding exactly what you want to do and doing that behind the scenes work, maybe going to a blog that is part of their interest and registering for the forum. I mean, it's not as fun, but you can really get a lot of insight from like-minded people just by logging in and maybe asking questions on a forum or something like that.
I think, for the teens that may come to YOUMedia is really understand an audience. A lot of times they just want to reflect what they see. So, they might be freshmen in high school and they're shooting up the whole block. It's like, that's not necessarily you. But because it's what they see and what's successful, apparently, they're gonna reflect that, right? So it's really having them have a critical breakdown of, who they really are in terms of media creation. And I think, like Babyface said, like this idea of, really learning, using the net as a learning tool to discover like how you should blog or other alternative ways. Because as big as Wiz Khalifa is, he was one of those guys that started on the net. You look at a lot of, like one of the great examples for me of that is creative control. Like, the name itself, that we're gonna take creative control back of our art and how we present ourselves, and that is going to influence mainstream culture versus mainstream culture influencing the kind of bottom up, if you will.
My question is in regards to the youth and internet. We know that a lot of predators and people who are looking to not necessarily help your project or sponsor it, but use that as a way to attack or to harm our youth. So what parameters or what things would you suggest, or what do you have in place to kind of weed a little bit of those things out, kind of to protect our youth and not, like we're encouraging them to be digital hustlers and so forth and so on. But what other things should they be aware of? What could they look out for to avoid those people who would be, say for instance, if they were a producer or whomever, and they come to you and say, oh, you're talented, you have a gift. I have the money that can push your project, or I have this. I think that it's like the elders or the older people's responsibility to say to those youth, like, make sure there's an adult involved, or make sure someone else is involved so that you won't make like dangerous decisions and so forth. So what do you guys do about that?
Well, I do a lot of mentoring, and I do have a teaching background, so I definitely believe for most kids it starts in the home. And I even ask some of my students, does your mom or your dad let you go on YouTube? And if they do, then that's a whole other discussion. But if a kid is going to just be out there on the internet with not much supervision, which, I mean, let's face it, most kids are, no matter what, you'll figure out a way. I figured out a way to get my tapes, my NWA tapes in the house. My mom wasn't really trying to hear it, but I figured out a way to hear it. So I think just like that, kids are going to be on the internet and they're going to figure out how to be exposed to these things. But it just like you said, having an adult involved, if they're actually trying to go out there and become a digital hustler, not to click on any shady links, not to give anybody your social security or your debit card number or even your driver's license number or anything like that. Don't tell your kids not to give away any of that pertinent personal information over the internet. You want to teach them about. I always tell my kids, you want to be famous, but at what cost? You can be famous on the internet for a variety of terrible things, you know what I mean? So you just have to, like what was brought up before, know who your audience is, know what you really want, because everyone has the dream, but not a lot of people have the actual drive and passion behind it. So, just to tell our youth to, know that it's an uphill battle as far as being an artist and a digital hustler, being out here on the internet and trying to make something of that that surfing, if you will. So yeah, not to give away too much personal information, and just be aware that there are people out there that's looking to swindle you for the most part.
Time for a couple questions.
Right, I've had my hand for a while. Oh, right.
Peace. What's up, y'all? I appreciate all of y'all presentations. I appreciate this community that that y'all have been a part of for a long time. I'm new to Chicago. My name is Professor D.US. I'm also an MC. I've toured all over the world. I do radical hip hop. But this panel, it's been great. But what we didn't spend our time on today, and what I hope that we are going to focus on, the title of the panel is right exactly, Chicago hip hop, the digital hustle, and social justice. We talked a lot about the first two, not so much about social justice. So I want to say a couple. I'll try and be real quick because we do want to hear other people in the room as well. But just on the one thing in digital hustle, because we did do that. A piece that I'll throw in is, y'all know about the Square. You know what that is, right? Yeah, exactly. Credit card reader, exactly. So that's another thing for on the street, as well as connecting how you hustle on the street, connect with how you hustle on the net, because a lot of times as an artist you'll be out selling your CDs, people are like, oh, I get one but I don't carry cash. That's different than 5 years ago, right? People ain't carrying cash. So you have that. Okay, that's my one thing on that. For the brother Babyface Monster, when you were talking about, just near the end, you're talking about where you want to go, and you sort of gave a bit of a mission statement for your blog. And I wonder, I don't get the impression, I could be wrong, but I don't get the impression that you've registered as a nonprofit. But if your idea really is to distinguish yourself from those, what you call mainstream blogs that are focusing on major artists, the reason they do that, of course, is because that's where the money's at. If your goal really is something different, to diversify, to democratize, to do something like that, then a good look would be to register as a nonprofit. And that doesn't mean that you can't give yourself a salary, but it means that you're not motivated by the salary. It means that you're motivated by whatever your mission statement is. And then in terms of Slum One, when you're talking about the dangers of Facebook, what we didn't really get to is the fact that of the corporate control, right? And the fact that on the one hand, it's like, oh, wow, the internet is so open and YouTube is so open, we can all get involved. But what we're doing is we're putting all our content up there for major transnational corporations to profit off of it, right? So a serious question is there a way to subvert that? Is there a way to change that dynamic? When I was in Cuba in the year 2000, and I met with Fidel Castro, and I talked to him about revolution, and he was saying, okay, y'all in Canada, in the US, of course, you can't perform the revolution the way we did. Y'all are in the information age. You need to take advantage of, we took advantage of a window, right? There was a space where the Cuban Revolution could have been forged the way it was through violent struggle. That's not the situation that we're in. We don't have, even if we wanted to do it that way, we don't have the option because of the way technology has gone. So now we have this window, and it's only a window. It will close. Our enemies are trying to close it. This window where we have access to get information and to give information. But that's not just, oh, you can learn anything and it's going to be like that forever. That's a situation that we need to take strategic advantage of now before they lock it down. That's what I want to say.
I think there has been a little bit of a talk about social justice. Maybe not so much in some words just like that, right? But when she's talking about, because there's a whole lot, really. So when you're talking about, when Babyface is talking about hooking up the city and hooking up the whole region and breaking down a lot of barriers that are out there, there's a little bit of social justice that's in that. It's coming through in a market sort of way, but that's a brother, on the rise in that regard. So anyway, we got another question here. Shot City Hip Hop.
Hey, just real quick, just wanted to touch on that because I think it's important to touch on the social, specifically touch on the social justice aspect. I think hip hop in its core, like many art forms, has a social justice aspect to it. I mean, and it's often co-opted and coverted by corporations. But we have to take our role in taking responsibility of how we buy into some of these corporations, right? Facebook can be used for good, or it can be used to co-opt, right? But and we've seen this throughout history. I mean, you look at some turning points, like in film. For African Americans, it was Sweetback's Badass Song, right? it said, A, that we can produce film, that folks will come out to see it, that it can, you know, be directed, scored, you know, by one person, basically. But what that also taught Hollywood is that if we took out the message, you know, we can have, you know, still the same effects in terms of financial gain, but you're really taking out the social piece. I mean, you look at the same, you know, course happened in hip hop. You know, we went from, you know, Fight the Power to Gin and Juice, right? You know, in a matter of years, it's like, yeah, we can, you know, turn the social consciousness up, but then corporations can say, well, that's not selling. And that might not be a core truth, right? It's not selling, you know, to who it needs to be sold to, right? And then lastly, I think, you know, looking at the digital age, it's really about, you know, I think the power of the digital age to facilitate some of this social awareness is that it's openly networked, that, you know, again, if you want to learn about, you know, any movement, basically, from the Cuban Revolution to the revolutions happening all over the world now, it's at the click of a button, right? Now it's for mentors and adults, hopefully, to kind of help students disseminate that information and figure out where truth really lies, to create a new social consciousness either through the news they put out or the music that they create, and that meets kind of in the center point, right? And I think hip hop has always kind of played that role in breaking down some of the social issues, as we know, whether it be, you know, financially, creatively, or even, you know, the race lines that are just laughable. But in terms of hip hop, they kind of disappear, right? It doesn't matter if you're white or Asian, it matters if you have a skill, right? And what you're bringing to the table. I think that's the key social justice aspect, that if we can continue to foster and facilitate that, it can make the shifts of awareness and new creativity and new avenues that we want to see.
Kurt, you got a question?
Yeah, in the age where it's all, you know, Twitter, YouTube, and they fans grow that way, and big labels see these things as being independent artists, what would be your advice to artists who get approached by these big labels because of their YouTube and Twitter views? What would be your advice to them so they won't get robbed by these big labels?
Lawyer up.
If you're being approached by a huge label, or even a label that you know could probably do something bigger for you than you've ever been able to do for yourself, of course, lawyering up would be a very, very good idea. But also know your worth. They're approaching you for a reason. They don't approach everybody. So if your views are up there, and you know your fans and likes are up there, you've done something extraordinary on your own, because a lot of artists on their own can't do things like that. So your grind has shown a bigger entity that you would be a good worker for them. You'd be a good investment for them. So and I would also understand what you want as an artist, and understand what you don't want, and understand what they're offering you, because more than likely they're going to offer you something called a 360 deal, and those aren't really good ideas at all, unless you're just trying to make a quick buck, which unfortunately a lot of artists have been able to do that, and that waters down the creativity of the marketplace. But you know, some people have really been, you know, and get in the game and get out and get that quick check. So for some artists, that's not a big deal for them. But for artists that are really interested in the art and longevity and like having something to show for their hard work, I wouldn't entertain a major label unless they're offering something that is really, really worthwhile.
Hey, we'll hear comments from Carlos. Look like you wanted to say something in regards to that question.
Yeah, a good example of the artist, you know, that you were talking about is like Chief Keef. He's a young man. He's about 15, 16 years old, from the south side of Chicago. And he went viral after one of his fans, you know, did a YouTube video going crazy about him, you know, and after that, you know, all of his videos just flew out the roof, you know, million hits on every video, almost. And now a lot of big labels are seeking him out. So only thing, like if I could sit him down and talk to him, only thing I would say would be just make sure that you're true to yourself. Whatever kind of music you're trying to make sure that that label is all about that. And once you sit down with him, you, your lawyer, and go over the documents, make sure that you have creative control over whatever it is your goal is for yourself.
One more piece of that is, you know, I think just asking artists to really think about what is enough. Like, you know, how much money will it take for you to be happy, right? You know, how much fame? Is it fame? Is it money? What are you in it for? Are you in it to teach? And then you can really assess for yourself how much is enough. I mean, I've seen, you know, at least a few successful or rising successes come through YOUMedia. Now, do we claim that, you know, they grew out of YOUMedia? They connected to it, which is the purpose of it being there. They had to really navigate and decide what they were going to do with the tools, the space, and then who they would connect with. Two of those folks, I mean, notably, you know, Vic and Nico from Kids These Days. I mean, they're probably, you know, some of the really freshest teams doing not only hip hop, but bridging that with, you know, live instrumentation. You know, and I think for, you know, those two in particular out of the group, they saw YOUMedia as a space to connect with other teams, to, you know, share tweets. You know, they would connect with beat makers and things like that, using it as kind of a community resource space, right? And then Chance,
Is it YOUMedia?
yeah, he, you know, when we first opened YOUMedia, he was one of the first kids I kind of noticed. Him and this guy, they had a group called Instrumentality, and they would, you know, just, it was a free space for them to record. And they're like, wow, you know, we can, you know, we're paying $80 an hour, now we're doing it for free. And then somebody's in the booth with me if I need to kind of get, you know, guide me or whatever. You know, what was interesting about Chance in particularly is that YOUMedia was also a place for him to fail, right? So at the open mic, he would do this one song over and over again, and every week he would just forget it in the middle. Be like, Chance, what is the problem, brother? Like, but, you know, one of the librarians said, you know, the floors are made of rubber here because students can, you know, fall and bounce right back up, and they'll support each other. And I think that's the key and critical movement that, you know, I hope comes out of, you know, pieces like this, or, you know, what students are doing on the ground. Because if we can support each other, I mean, I love the idea that, you know, Babyface is connecting the Midwest. I mean, I think it's, you know, it's an interesting piece just to look through the lens of Chicago, but to say out of the Midwest, you know, there's a renaissance going on, and we have to name it and claim it. And there's leaders of that renaissance. Psalm 1, I mean, it's interesting, that Chance story, there was a contest at the library, and it was a citywide contest to talk about Chicago. They came in second, you know, to Psalm 1, and it was like, wow, you know, these kids are, you know, really pushing on a high level.
I thought he was gonna win though, because his song was real. I was like, there's this kid, his song is real in depth. I don't know. That was cool. That's cool that connection is there. Yeah.
That was at the libraries, right?
Yeah, the Chicago Public Library had this this contest, and it was to make a song and a video about your city, and yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, good. It's a good note. It's a good note to end on. Just want to do a plug. We're doing a research project at the library school, coming up with indexing all the links that deal with Chicago hip hop, from venues to artists to history to the future to ideas. So stay on the lookout like that. We want to promote everybody, meeting everybody and networking, passing cards back and forth, saying hello, getting email addresses down. We're just coming to a close of this session. The final summation session for the conference is about to happen in 10 minutes in this next room up here, so we want to invite everybody to come through that and say thanks very much to our panelists and the audience today.
I'm just going to make a plug for the conference. I know you all are into hip hop, but hip hop needs to be in the conference. You know, so if somebody were to fade instead of coming to the session, I know that everybody ain't together. I hope y'all feel me on this. We need you in the conference. We don't just need to talk about you, we need you to speak in a context that's not just your context, but it's our context. So I'm looking for you.
Next door in 10-9.